everybody. Welcome back to my channel, The Vibes Inside. I am Marianne and I'm here to do a full moon reading in the sign of Cancer. Well, it peaked yesterday on the 26th of December 2023. I wasn't able to do the reading at that time, but I'm doing it now. So I hope that it may be helpful to someone out there. This is the last full moon of the year. Well, depending on what calendar you use, of course, but before New Year's Eve on the 31st of December, this is the last one. And it's a full moon, so full moons are usually about, you would say, completing something, about the finishing or the completion of a cycle or of maybe a growth process or some kind of knowledge. Could be anything, right? Maybe you're completing an education. Maybe you have been looking for something and finally you find it. Maybe you get a realization about something and it just kind of changes everything, you know. Cancer is a sensitive water sign. Intuitive, psychic, sensitive. I talk about Cancer being the first water, so Cancerian energy can be a bit I wouldn't say naive, but you know, a bit childlike. In the sense that it hasn't reached, you know, a state of matured emotional response yet. Like it can have this, and I'm a Cancerian sun, so I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot here about this, but you know, it's like the way that it interprets the world can be a bit romantic, you know. It would like things to be a bit more lovey-dovey than it may actually be, you know. It hasn't confronted itself with the realities of something, maybe. Liking to keep things a little more innocent and would like to see the world a little more romantic and innocent, and maybe, I wouldn't, well, naive, but maybe it just, you know, likes the purity of heart, you know. It favors or likes the purity of heart, because if it actually had to face the darkness of heart, it would be devastating to a Cancer, you know. It's that kind of feeling, like it becomes too heavy somehow. That's what I say about the Cancerian energy. Like the first water is, you know, a bit like a little child, right? You can startle the little child with loud noises because it hasn't experienced it yet, because it's new, right? Falling down the stairs, it hurts. It hasn't been done before, so the second, third, fourth, 10th time you fall down the stairs, it still hurts, but now you know what it is, right? It's like, but the Cancerian is like the first one, right? This is where everything is the first, you know, emotional wise. It's where we feel the pain and the hurt of something, or we feel the joy of something. We feel we sense the world for the first time, the sunshine. It's a very sensitive, but also I feel like nervous system, like the connection with the nervous system is very fine-tuned and pure. So when something becomes overwhelming, it can literally shut a cancer down, right? Because it is not ready, or it's still in an opening phase. It's still trying to figure this out somehow. I don't know if that makes sense to understand Cancerian energy a little bit. It's still in the you could say a bit of the romantic side. It's still in the, it would like or prefer to stay there, where it's a bit pure still, and I don't know, innocent, it's still playful. It's still like children playing, that kind of feeling. So when something very harsh comes in, it's like it can overwhelm the nervous system of a cancer and shut it down, right? Because it's too much. It's not ready, you could say. It's like giving a child too much work or too much responsibility. It's like it's not ready yet for that, something like that. So I don't know if there has been some kind of situation where something has been too much and you are figuring out how to kind of get through that, completing a cycle of that. Or you could say completing Cancerian energy would be that Cancer is now ready for the next step, right? Cancer has matured. Cancer is ready for a bigger responsibility, you could say, or Cancer has figured out that there's more than purity and romance, right? That now I have grown, so I am ready for a little bit more, or I'm actually seeing the realities of life differently, and I'm leaving, I'm leaving Santa behind, I'm leaving the childish, maybe romantic dreams of innocence or something behind, because I have now learned there's something else, that the completion of, or the healing maybe of something Cancerian, something like that. We all have Cancer somewhere in our chart. Some it's more strong than others, depending on what kind of planets and so on. But it's when the Cancerian is hurt, they build walls around themselves to protect themselves, right? And a closed off Cancerian can be pretty cold. It's a bit like, like a titanium wall. You can't break it, So a wounded Cancerian is not good, actually. It's not very open. Cancerian is a feminine water sign. In its prime, you could say it is open and sensitive and kind and very motherly in its nature, romantic. It represents the home. It represents base, rejuvenation, peace, warmth. But you can meet a Cancerian who is very cold to the outside world because they have to armor up, And that is usually because of something, So there could be a sense of, with the full moon, like either breaking that down, like the final walls are being, either built, I would say, or torn down, depending on your journey, where you are. I just made a reading about people that are brokenhearted. And like following the thread of the pain or the melancholic or the sadness is actually the key to maybe unlocking something in you that can tell you more about who you are. maybe something you have closed yourself off to, because it is the Cancerian moon. So, I don't know. Maybe something very sensitive, very pure also, something that is needing protection somehow. Okay. Let's see what we have on the table. I've been pre-shuffling now, right? This card, I actually wanted to have it here like a, like a higher self-influence that is somehow has something to do with this. But then when I shuffle, I put it here. And I don't think that is a coincidence. It could be, something you've been working on figuring out. But it has been, maybe, up in the clouds, not accessible to you, not yet conscious, but now it becomes conscious. Now you suddenly see something. And this could be the feeling of like a key to something or an understanding to something. I took another card, like when this was still here. I feel like that could have been this energy. Like this could have been your truth at that point in time. And now it's like you realize another one. That could be what this full moon could be offering. I feel like there could be something about past time, something, because Mercury is retrograding right now, Jupiter still retrograding. Like there's something, like something from the past, or something you may have been close. Let's say you've had, like relatives you haven't spoken to because of something. Because of a disagreement, or there could be something. Let's say you get a letter and it reveals some kind of family you were not aware of that you had. Someone died. There is an inheritance, and you had no idea. Like something like some kind of message that is, or feeling, or intuitive. Again, Cancerian, it can have this romantic, like Six of Cups, happy romantic memories from the past kind of thing to it, that suddenly comes in as a memory or something, and because of that, you are realizing something in your current situation. Okay, let's have a look at this, right? Sixth chakra, Archangel Metatrons. This is third eye. There could be a sense of epiphany, a breakthrough. I took a very white candle here, very white. I took a white. How is something very white? I took a white candle and I just had a black candle, right? So it's kind of the opposite, like. And now look at like this very bling, very pure. For some reason, I feel like there's a touch of Cancerian energy with this as well. Like this is how, a bit like how Cancer can, how I feel like a Cancer child can be. Like they are very open and very sweet. I want to say, yeah, sweet. Like there's a sweetness. I don't know how to explain that. There's a sweetness around them, or a light, you could say, around them. of sweetness. They have this bit like a bit, yeah, child pure sweetness to them before they close off, right? Before they do that, they close off. And then you can have the exact opposite, right? This sweetness and this, it's suddenly totally closed. And that can be a confusing like experience for others, I think. They don't understand what's happening. So this seems like it has maybe been on its way. There is some kind of epiphany or understanding. A third eye opening can be a memory, an epiphany. I hear a cleanse, something that is cleansing, maybe healing. It could be quite sweet in its nature here, you know, like the purity or romance or innocence here to something. There's another, there's something else here. Let me see if I can find a word for it. Like he is so I get sparkling, but there's something else. Because he really is this. But then there's another tune here. I get the feeling of, you know, like what I say, a happy, nostalgic memory about someone here. But it's a memory. So it suggests that it's maybe not, or has not been like that, you know. And for that reason, it becomes a reminiscing, you know, like a, or like you didn't know, like again this, it's almost like like this could be someone you cared about, right? Metatron usually connects with, I know that he connects with what we call crystal children, indigo children, rainbow children, children that are here as very personal and very special teachers, like I believe autistic children, and like they are teachers. They teach us something about humanity, something about differences, something about oddness, something about not fitting the matrix, you know. They are here to question the matrix. And they do that because we care, right? We care through the heart center. And therefore we, as the parents, also get to challenge something that we haven't challenged before, perhaps. Well, he looks very saint-like, right? An angel. He's an angel, right? Metatron is also an angel that is regarded as one of the grounders. If I remember correctly, he is one of those that can ground new energy on earth. And one of the ways I believe that this happens is when we get our own epiphanies, because we are already here, we live here. So how this becomes grounded is like through our third eye here, installing new information in us about who you are, or new light codes, new incoming knowledge perhaps, or again memories. I'm curious about this one. So it says here, Enheduanna, the High Priestess, I am one with my soul, and my soul is a legacy of love. I'm one with my soul. So this could suggest, almost a feeling of having an encounter with your soul. Like she has been helping to get this done, you could say, or get this grounded. I feel like maybe that's why there is this saying that so many people are waking up at the moment, because there is this wave incoming of needing to connect with our soul, knowing who we are. Again, very spiritual or psychic or clairvoyant, clairaudient, claircognizant, these sensitive, pure, and home feeling also, right? Cancerian energy is home also. It's the mother. It's where we relax. This is where we are full connected with something that holds us and protects us and is safe and warm and everything, right? And sweet. Very sharp focus on her third eye, and the third eye here. Well, maybe some of you have this encounter. You actually witness your own soul. That can be quite a strong impression. But I feel like, again, as I said, it's like this has been like a helper energy for a long time. And where this was not open, right? It wasn't seen. You didn't see it. You didn't know, or you didn't have access to it. Now it suddenly gets seen here. And so from being something that was in its making, it's like now it has become it in its making, right? This is present. This is present. That could be what this full moon is actually bringing for some people here. Relieving this. And this is a Seven of Pentacles. Yeah, Seven of Pentacles is putting in seeds that is supposed to blossom later. So this is what you have, you see, this is what has been, when this was still, unclear or not realized maybe, or not access, to the knowledge of whatever this is. You have been working to figure it out. You have putting in seeds. But this putting in seeds is now relieved. Like it's put to the side here. And now it's present. Now it has come in. Now you see the result of your labor. Does that make sense? Like now it's present, and this is, you could say, more obsolete now. This is what you have been doing. Growing a connection to your soul. Again, I get this feeling of, it's almost like reconnecting. Like, because there's this retrograde feeling to it also, like reconnecting to something that you knew, or I am one with my soul. Well, this is not... Being one with your soul means that your ego works with it, not against it. That your ego is okay with the soul being present and having certain knowledge, having certain light, having a certain combination or DNA here. And it shines, right? It shines like this. It could be, something about owning it, not hiding it anymore. Let's have a look at the bottom of the deck here for this. So I get strategy for the bottom here. The bottom is usually a driver, or what I call a driver card. A driver card that this and this has been working to, like something in you has been trying to make a strategy to make something happen here. Like a strategy of doing something here, of keep putting in certain seeds to finally like maybe because it says journey log on this one, maybe to unlock it or to write your story, right? For some reason I get a feeling of a puzzle, like puzzling, like these pentacles. I said they were seeds, but they could feel a bit like puzzle pieces, like. And every time you get a puzzle piece, you write it in the strategy log here, the journal, to finally, and there is a key on top here, to finally at some point being able to open it, right, and actually see the full puzzle, that the puzzle has now become almost finished, or so enough finished so that you can actually start to see the magnitude of something here. Maybe you realize you are a crystal child, a rainbow child, an indigo child, right? Maybe you have some of those qualities. But maybe it has been a search. This can also be, like a diary or something, that you have needed to write certain things down. Now I remember this film I recently saw. It was about a woman who was living in a center where in a home where, because she had dementia, and every day her husband came and he was reading a diary or a somewhat of a journal, a story, a love story, and the love story was about him and her, but for her it was a new story. She had no idea of the characters in the story. She had no idea that she was her and he was him in that story. And he came every day to read for her, to see if she at some point would remember. Because then he would have this little glance of time with her, this little bit, this little bit of breakthrough perhaps here with her, where now I see her. Now she's not treating me like a stranger. He came every day reading this book for hours to have maybe just, 5 minutes where she was actually remembering him. Because otherwise she saw him as a stranger, right? Someone she didn't trust. She had no idea who he was. He came in every day, and every day was the same. She couldn't remember him. So I don't know if there is something about, and of course this will not be for everyone, but if you are dealing with, let's say, family members with amnesia or some kind of memory loss, or dementia or something, that there could be something about a strategy of repeating something enough so that eventually it becomes, there are enough, reading the story enough times so that it becomes this new memory, or implanting new memories here. Implanting enough new memories or retrieved memories so that finally you can puzzle everything back together. Does that make sense? Something like that? Soul memories, maybe. Who your soul is. If there's some kind of, if there has been some kind of, like if you have hurt your head, like you have had a head trauma of some kind, or that maybe you have a friend who, who has who experienced some kind of accident, and they may remember you, right? But they don't remember your story together. Does that make sense? Like, they may remember you, even your name, but they don't remember, like, all your, childhood playground experiences. They don't remember all your fun and laughs and all your, does that make sense? Something like that? Like it has somehow been separated in some way. And like maybe you have been needing to tell them, like bit by bit by bit, like plant or give them these clues, give them clues, put in the seeds to make something grow and blossom here, and now it seems like it's done, like this becomes a little more obsolete. Now it's actually there. I feel like the connection has been established, the memory of something, at least it's coming back, or it has been, as I said something about estranged parents and children, like maybe you haven't spoken with them in 30 years, and one makes a phone call, or you remember this friend suddenly, like again this retrograde, Mercury retrograding also, maybe you have a memory of a friend, someone with whom you actually have a big story, but for some reason they have been, washed away, like it has been, people get busy in their lives, they do stuff, right? they get married, they have children, they have work, and certain things have become maybe obsolete, or you forget them, right? This could be a summer crush, you know, someone you spend a holiday with, and it was extremely beautiful. But then you come back, you know, you go to school, there are your friends, you have homework, you have jobs, you have all kinds of stuff. And the more you get yourself embodied or enmeshed in all this stuff, you suddenly have a new boyfriend, or you have a new girlfriend, or life kind of pulls you along. And something here seems like it's definitely standing out, right? It's definitely standing out. Again, I said something about that Cancer is like the first water. It's when something is still pure and a bit naive and innocent. This can also be like a feeling of, like a memory, a little more soul memory of what you are or who you are. But you know, life did take over. You know, this book is maybe thick, you know, it could have 500 pages. And the last one you remember are from maybe 400 to 500. But if you go back to page 1, right, it could be that there's something there in your life about how you were viewing life also. Like if you could go back in time and there are certain things you could kind of just shove them away. Maybe certain things that have been, as I said, maybe too overwhelming, that if you could somehow take them away, you would find this in you, right? That would be you, right? It would be this pure thing that is here somewhere. And again, you have Cancer energy, different places, right? This could be a Venus placement, or a moon placement, or a rising, or this could be Jupiter, right? It could be any kind of placement where Neptune, it could be anyone, and it will have different impact on you. If you have Cancer somewhere in some of the personal planets, Sun, Moon, Venus, Mars, rising, Mercury, you may have a stronger sense of maybe breakthrough or puzzle gathering, you know, this finding this piece of something. It's almost like resembling a face, you know, like resembling there is this tune that it's important. Like this could be, you know, like a person in your life, right? That shines so brightly, but you couldn't remember their face, right? And now you're trying to puzzle them together with their characteristics. What, again, as I said, there could be this feeling of needing to go back and where did I meet them? Like, what was the possibility? Well, it could be this town or this town. I grew up in this town. Maybe it was at school, right? Maybe it was, but there's this feeling of someone or something. And a slight reminiscing, like it's a memory. And the memory is really beautiful, right? The memory is very, very beautiful here. But that's what it is. It's a sense of a slight memory of something. But Metatron is here to kind of ground it so it becomes more and more conscious. And more, maybe piece by piece, puzzling, you know, together a face here of someone. A name of someone here. You know, like oh, yeah, there was this I had this friend, I had this friend in kindergarten. And the connection we had was just so beautiful, but I have, it has been so long, life took me elsewhere and I forgot about them, But actually I would like to find them. Or I would like to let them know, right? I would like to let them know that I care, right? Or that maybe it was your sweetheart, I said cancer is sweet, right? Maybe it was a sweetheart, maybe a child, like a child sweetheart, like maybe the first one, or, it has that tune, a bit romantic, but also I feel like Cancerian energy, this is where we are, it's before sexual interest. Like it's that young. It's children playing together. It's before you could say sexuality, the fire starts moving. It's where this is still an innocent, sweet, kind, like and it's not that self-conscious, like when children are playing, young children, they are not that aware, or it doesn't matter whether they are boys or girls. It doesn't really matter if they are, as long as they play well together, as long as they figure it out. And then there's this other phase where it becomes more and more apparent that you are a girl and you are a boy, and suddenly, girls and boys play, like playing together becomes, no, you don't play anymore, you hang out, right? Teenagers don't play, they hang out together, right? There's playing is like it has a time span where playing is okay, but then it becomes something else. It evolves, It could be this feeling of a I think you get my point. It's this first phase, what I call the first water. Where the connection is carried by sweetness and openness and kindness and acceptance and trust, right? That is what drives this experience. It could be that you remember someone who you feel like stands out like that for you. It could also be that this is part of you, right? It says here, I am one with my soul, that your soul is this one for you. But there has been maybe a disconnect, from it or from that feeling. And you have been trying to grow it back or puzzle it back together. I have talked in other readings about soul retrieval, that you can retrieve certain parts of your soul, and if you have enough pieces, you could say, you get to see, you could say, a sense of face or persona or qualities of that soul part of yours that you may have felt very disconnected from. Again, I have this feeling of like head trauma, not remembering, not like being disconnected or at a distance from, or separated from or something, right? That it has not been there somehow. And there has been this attempt to find the clues or grow the seeds, or again putting in the seeds, making an attempt to find it. Starting, to write things down, characteristics, writing down dreams, writing down like memories, going through these, like the strategy may have been or is to write down, write something down. The strategy here, I want to say, could even be, if you are into that, something about connecting with the Akashic records, which is said to be like a spiritual library of all your lived lives and the memories you have. And that could also be why you need this open third eye, because that is one of the ways to connect with it. That when you do, you could have a feeling of like a lot of information maybe streaming towards you. See, look, trust your innocence. Like right? Maybe, one of the whiteness here, and I took a white candle, right? One of the sparkly things here is perhaps the innocence. Like this card reminds me so much of Cancerian energy. It's very, I don't know, it's friendly, right? It's calm, it's sweet and friendly and open and trusting, and like the child that is playing with a friend and they just seem to figure everything out, right? And it's pure and light and easy and friendly and sweet, and innocent, it's before something else comes in. Like it's before we get self-conscious. It's before we are more and more associated with the gender we have. It's before life takes us in different directions, Boys can become soldiers, right? Girls become housewives. Like, that's very stereotyped. But the idea of it. It's like the environment of boys has a certain tune to it. The environment of girls has a certain tune to it. And it's like when we get in there, it's like we can get a bit absorbed in this existence. And we may get disconnected from the time where it was not like that. Like before, right? The time before we got absorbed in the and I know, well, I'm 52, right? I had a certain upbringing. I understand that young people today may have a different upbringing. But when I was growing up, there was no, like this, the whole community, the whole gay community was very in the closet still. Like this whole idea that you could be, everybody was an I. There was not any way you could see yourself as a we. Like having two genders, or being gay or lesbian, or it's bisexual, intersexual, asexual, all these you could say, clubs or groups, they weren't there. There were just two, right? Men and women. And that was kind of it. Everything else was still shadowy and in the closet and not spoken about. It was definitely not, I was definitely not raised as one with like a free choice. And today it's different. You can say, I would like to be addressed with a we, because I see myself as more than just an I, or just one, right? I don't have just one gender, or I don't have just one voice. I have different kinds. So I'm a we, or we are we. We are we, and if you don't understand that, it's not my problem, right? Or it's not our problem to deal with that. This is a beingness. We are this beingness. You see, I'm really struggling still with this, but this idea that there's more to this persona. You could say maybe those who connect with the idea of we has a stronger soul connection, right? They have a human like presence and existence, and then they have a soul connection. So there is a coherence, between, or at least a connection. And they know that they are different. Like the soul is experienced as, or known as, being immortal. The human experience is known to be mortal and finite, where the soul is infinite, right? So there is a connection between something that is here right now and something that has been here forever, right? The Akashic records here. I don't know if that's what's happening. I don't even know if they can put into word why they associate as we. I just know that it is growing. It's coming into awareness. It's no longer in the closet. It's definitely out there. It's shown, it's said, and it becomes more and more accepted that you can choose, right? That you can choose. The more, I think that when you connect more and more with the soul part, it would be maybe like having two. Like, I have a human voice that is scanning or looking out for human things, like survival, for instance. And then I have a soul that doesn't care about that at all, because it's infinite. So it doesn't think about survival. It thinks about many other things, many other maybe things that it wants to do or be or experience. But the human existence is different, right? It reacts to the things around us. If we feel threatened, as I said, the innocence can go. It can be armored up. It can be, locked in or protected because there is a survival threat to it. So there can be this an awareness of definitely human existence, but also something else. That could be what this is. Connecting with something before. Whether it's a part of yourself, another person, a child, friend. Again, Six of Cups, like romantic, happy memories. Doesn't have to be, like a boyfriend or girlfriend. It could be the first crush, It could be the very first beautiful crush on someone as a little child, Underlying for the trust, the crystal here, I have crystal keys. I actually, just when I turned card, it looks like crystal eyes. So I don't know that if there could be something about eyes here. Something about your eyes, something about someone else's eyes. Maybe, you know, there could be something about having eyes like crystals, like very sparkling, or yeah. This is a driver card. So again, looking for keys. Metatron, I say, have to do with these children that are here to ground new energy. Indigo children, crystal children, rainbow children. Like they come in with a certain sense, I believe, of maybe purity of heart. They are here to ground new energies, to show new energies. You know, as I said, it when I grew up, there were just two genders, really. Well, there was maybe an awareness about homosexuality and, you know, like gender transformations, gender shifts, but it was definitely very dimmed. It wasn't normal, you know. It wasn't something people talked about as a normal thing to express. So it's like the time we live in now, there is a much more intertwined sense of feeling with, like, gender is not separated anymore. It's this mixed thing, you could say. Sexuality is also not separated necessarily anymore. It's also more like mixed. You can have any kind of sexuality. You can even choose not to have one. Like, you know, it's you can have a very strong feeling that I'm a biological male, but I have a female body, you know, but still having that identity in you. It could be something else, like, let's say you grew up as a girl in a female body, but you have very strong leader skills. But because you were a girl, you never got to figure it out. Like, you know, the leader skills were never evolved because you were a girl. And your brother was the one who was sent to college, because boys are natural leaders, right? Or in some cultures seen like that. They were supposed to take charge. But I know that some boys don't want to take charge. They actually feel more feminine, right? They would rather follow than actually be the one in charge. And some girls have the leader potential, but are never given the chance because they are born girls, you know. So that could be something that you realize here about before life took you somewhere, you know, before the way that, like, and that is a key, right? It's a puzzle piece that again tells you something about yourself, maybe, or it tells you something about your interaction with someone at some point. where everything was innocent. It was still just play. It was just, and it worked, right? It worked out. It was beautiful. So the crystal keys here talk about hidden wisdom codes, potent information, Lemurian seed crystals. And I said here, this is about putting in seeds, right? Seeing your triggers as a gift, awareness of drama creating patterns, and maybe also awareness of peace creating patterns, right? That you figure out what creates one thing and what creates another. Healing the earth by looking at your inner environment, healing through awareness. It says here, Lemurian quartz crystals are special pieces of clear quartz with indented ridges running across them. They are known as seed crystals because they are said to have been found individually, buried in sand and earth, rather than attached to a large cluster the way most crystals are. Aware of their oncoming destruction, the Lemurians imbued information about how to avoid a similar catastrophe on crystals and buried them. The ridges on the crystals are believed to be Lemurian inscriptions. These crystals are reappearing now as this knowledge is again relevant. So this feels to me like, well, it could be that you have crystals. Naturally, you are drawn to crystals, maybe. Maybe you like the beauty and the clear expression of crystals. But it could also be that you are a crystal. Said to be found individually, buried in sand and earth, rather than attached to a large cluster. So this could be the feeling that that you have been alone. If you are attached to a large cluster, it means that you would have been with others like you. But you probably didn't. Like you grew up maybe in an environment that was not like you. Not liking you, like the things you stand for. Like the things that you are maybe here to ground on earth, the information you have is maybe special in a way. And there could have been this feeling of disconnect from what is the key to read the crystals, right? How do I unlock the crystals, or how do I unlock myself? Imbued, DNA information, or, something in you being disconnected from that, or the sense of amnesia, or does that make sense? Something like that. Unlocking a mystery, maybe. Or maybe, information to avoid something. And the only way to do that is to write down these puzzle pieces, write some of it down. Or even write down how to unlock something, how to have this opening here. If you feel like you are one of those children, an indigo child, a crystal child, a rainbow child, or even a Lemurian starseed. And growing up alone, not having any kind of, map or tool or guideline. It's like you are alone and you have to figure out how to unlock yourself. Does that make sense? And the only way you can do that is by maybe like working with, you could say, Cancerian energy, the opening of Akashic records, the connection with the spirit realm and guides or ancestors or something like that, and start writing something down here. Start taking notes or and working your way through some of the things I said here from the book, right? This is a driver card. This is probably what you have done or have been doing. Hidden wisdom codes, potent information, Lemurian seed crystals, seeing your triggers as a gift, awareness of drama creating patterns, healing the earth by looking at your inner environment, healing through awareness. That is one of the ways, or some of the ways, to maybe figure something out here, or to open that door, to connect with, to become one with your soul here. Because the soul carries a lot of information that is not necessarily present in our current life. You could say it would be a bit like unlocking your brain also. We know that we only use about 5-10% consciously. So there's a lot of things imbued in the subconscious mind that we don't know about, or we're not conscious about it. We don't have access, you could say. It says here, trust your innocence. This card is about truth, trusting yourself, being real with people, knowing the difference between intuition and paranoia, uncensored feelings, returning to innocence. It can be hard to decipher between intuition and what our mind is telling us. Stories, projections, expectations, or fear can arise from the gaze of intuition. To distinguish truthful inner guidance from paranoia, we must return to innocence, to our purest essence. Here we have access to the truth of our being. And again, I feel soul also, right? What were the very first feelings or visions you had when you considered the question at hand? Before you second-guessed yourself. Yeah, that's what it's before something else. Before we become self-conscious, or before we start second-guessing something. How does it feel in your body when you are brutally honest with yourself? Try to go beyond the layers of what you have been taught, to believe about yourself. When some of the logic falls away, what answers remains, right? When you ask a young child a question, they don't censor their answer exactly. That's what I feel like. They don't think about other people's feelings. We say that honesty comes from children and drunk people, right? Because they don't censor it. Like, they just tell the truth. Their honesty may not be considered polite or socialized. It may even seem a bit funny, but it's their truth, and it's interesting to note how intuitive children naturally are. I saw another movie about a young boy in a Nazi family. He was the youngest child in a family during World War II, and he belonged to a family of the Nazi Hitler German family, you could say. His father was a high-ranking officer in the German army, they moved to a new place, and a few miles away from their house, there was this, well, the young boy thought it was some kind of farming place. It was surrounded with a lot of fences, and the people in there, they were wearing what the child called pajamas, but they were actually jail clothes. These were Jews, and they were imprisoned, enslaved in this concentration work camp. This boy, he got to have contact with one other boy inside the camp, and they liked each other, right? They spoke with each other. They, through the fence, they were communicating. And this is the thing about children. He did hear from his family that Jews were not to be trusted, and they were the enemy, and all this information that was sent to him. But in his heart, this other boy had done nothing wrong. He was a kind boy. He would just play, It's like if we want to know something about peace on earth, we have to listen to the children, right? The children know. The children have no grudges. The children have no story. The children have no prejudice. They just want to play. They just want to be with each other and explore the world. When we become self-conscious, when we start to believe in the stories we are told, when we start to believe in the religious stories, when we start to believe in the differences between the genders, when we start to identify as something specific, this is where some of the judgment comes. This is where we can no longer play with a friend. We can no longer, because it's not the right friend, or it's a boy, or it has a different gender, so you're not supposed to play with them anymore, or and sometimes the children don't get it, like they don't understand. Why can't I play with a boy anymore, being a girl? Why can't I play with someone who has maybe a different skin tone? Why can't I play with someone even though they are, have a different religious belief? Why can't I do that, right? The children are open. They don't know about, war, and they don't know about, they don't have those prejudices. It comes with the life we lead. It comes with the stories we hear. It feels a little bit like puzzling yourself together, or someone together who was special, I think. If this is another person, I want to say they are special in some way. They represent this time before becoming self-conscious, before listening to the narratives, before we took in the stories, this is the time before that, when you were your own truth here. It feels like remembering your own truth about something. Let's have a look at the driver for this one. It says here, Teresa of Avila, Our Lady of the Interior Life. I trust the answers I find within me. I know that the presence of love is real. Yeah, again, it's internal, like an internal search for your real truth, right? An internal search for the who you are, what is your truth in here? Like my unpolluted truth, right? What is this? That? Or an unarmored, like when I take my armor away, I become more closer and closer to some kind of truth in here. But when I'm very armored, I can't hear it, or I can't feel it, or I can't sense it. There is maybe just a feeling of, well, what I had in the beginning before I start digging internally was a feeling of just being sad and melancholic. Like those were my only leading threads, you could say, that I could follow. And they're not the most positive things to look at, right? And when I start going in there, I found a tremendous grief in there. And then working my way through that, I found more and more knowledge about what this grief concerned. But if I hadn't started looking at it, you could say the misery in your life, also if you feel brokenhearted, the misery in your life is your guiding star. You could say it's the only thing you have. If you don't remember anything else, or if you don't remember disaster or war, or you don't remember what could have taken some of this truth here away from you, or if you don't remember, and I have this feeling of, I don't know, amnesia or not knowing, it could be like a family secret that has never been told, but you just know that there's something that, like the Cancerian tune, can pick up on it, right? It's again, as I said, this is a very beautiful, beautiful energy, but still I had there was this other tone to it. So connecting with this is extremely beautiful, but there is still this tune of reminiscing. Connecting with this also makes me realize that it was gone once, or it's just a memory, or it's just a breadcrumb, or it was once. Once I had this truth about me. But I also know that I have lived my life differently, and I've made choices, right? That was maybe not in accordance with this. So remembering this can also come with a sense of, how could I forget about this? How could I forget my truth here and act against it? So there is this sense of beauty with a sense of chili or pepper, a truth is coming in, but it also reveals what is that called? The thorns. The rose is beautiful, but there are thorns, right? This so maybe something that needs to be balanced somehow in you. It has very, very big and beautiful potential here. It's very white and glittery and very sparkly. And then there's just, it's not much, right? But there's just this little thorn, like, you know, just a little one that kind of, but it shouldn't overshine everything, right? This little thorn should be easy to pick out and just concentrate on that you actually seem to have found this. Like you seem to have puzzled it together somehow. And you have figured out some kind of truth here that potentially is changing something for you, right? It may like change the way you move forward. It changes the people you choose to be around. It changes, maybe you're looking for someone from the past here, you know. Maybe this child friend, you know, that or maybe the child innocence, or as I said, it's like what was that? What the book said something about that, like children are, yeah, brutally honest in a sense that they don't sugarcoat anything, right? They speak what they believe in. They speak what is their truth. They don't censor their answers. Their honesty may not be considered polite or socialized. It may even seem to be a bit funny, but it's their truth, and it's interesting to note how intuitive children naturally are. To tell the difference between intuition and mind chatter, you need to recognize a clear instinctive yes and a distinctive no. For this you must trust yourself. The foundation of self-trust is honesty. So you must be completely honest with yourself about what feels good, true, and real to you, and what does not. Like a child would be. Do you like this? No. Okay. But then again, what did you experience as a child? Maybe you were told to shove your tongue, you know, or to that this is something you can't say. It's unpolite, or this is not how we talk in this family. You cannot have that voice, right? You cannot speak like that. You cannot act like that. You cannot be like that. And eventually, you know, you armor. The true Cancerian expression would be armored up. It would now be hidden. You know, and I think there is this, that's what I call the first water. It's this state where, you know, your child would always answer you honestly. If you tell them, if you ask them, have you done this? They would say yes. Even though it could, well, potentially they could be punished for it. But for a period of time, they would be honest and tell you yes. Because they don't know about punishment. They don't know about repercussions. They don't know about sanctions. They don't know it yet. You know? And if we betray this trust, then they close. Then they start lying. They say, no, I didn't do that. Because they know now that there are sanctions, punishment. You know? And so when they give a very open, honest expression about something, it may not be what people like to hear, but it's the truth of what is of how the child expresses itself, or how your soul would express itself. Again, the soul doesn't know about, the soul is infinite. It doesn't think about survival. It doesn't think about whether it's safe or not. It just is. It's always somehow safe. It can never, be killed, or it can change its ways. It can fragment, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily killed, right? It just changes something. When if you have a fragmented soul, there are pieces out there that you can hone back together to a more full picture, but it still exists. It just exists out there somehow. Like puzzle pieces. And the more and more you gather together, the more and more apparent it becomes that there's something about this soul that it knows something. Or maybe it has a voice, or maybe it has an honesty. I don't know, maybe there was one who was very honest here about something. Not polite, but honest. Not saying what you want to hear necessarily. Not taking your personal feelings into account. But they were honest. They say it how they see it. And it's special in that way, Sometimes when I sit here, I guess I could take something into account when I speak, but primarily I feel energy, and I'm trying to translate it, into words. So I feel an energy and what it tries to show, you could say. So I'm interpreting in sensations. And sometimes they are pretty honest. And I've said before on my channel, I don't sugarcoat necessarily. It doesn't mean that I, personally, as a person interacting with, like a friend, that I would prefer maybe a different interaction. But what I get when I sit here, I try to say. And it may not be, to your liking, but I read energy. So this is what I do. I've committed myself to not sugarcoat something. Because then there's no point in sitting here. Okay, so full moon in Cancer. I know Venus is in Scorpio at the same time, a different energy. It's said to be a pretty watery Christmas time. The solstice was here also, winter solstice. Can be a bit potent energies, I guess, on the emotional side of things. I also felt with the Pisces reading that the dark feminine is here, working its way through the scorpionic energy, right? That there's these oppositional almost energies that are working with each other. it's almost like this full moon wants to balance something. Like I did the broken-hearted reading, I did the Pisces reading. I feel like working with the side of us that feels wronged in some way, the wronged feminine. And then there's this Cancerian full moon that kind of wants to add something to this. It's like it's adding maybe a memory, adding a clue or a key to the bigger picture of something. And it's very bright and sweet, actually. It's not there's this sense of like a little reminiscing or something, like a little thorn, but this is way bigger. Like this overshines the thorn, I would say. So it's like a positive thing to the wronged feminine, and the wronged feminine we can all have. It's not just females, it can be any of us. One area where you feel wronged in some way, to the point of being brokenhearted, but that's like a really bad one, right? But we can all somehow have felt this, that there's places or situations where we feel we are definitely wronged or misunderstood or not helped or not supported or something. And we take it with us, right? We grow up and we take it with us. We even experience it in adulthood, maybe, still, and we're still carrying it with us. See the bottom of the deck for the Seven of Pentacles, which you have been working with, the gathering of the pieces, or the evidence, the clues, like writing down writing down your memories, your dreams, visions. The driver we have here is Temperance. Yeah, so there has been a divine timing to this this gathering of clues, this gathering of soul fragments or soul retrieval here. It has to be in the right order, right? A mixing of water and fire, that you can't necessarily fix it quickly. It takes a sense of alignment. When every time you gather, you get a new soul piece here. There are certain feelings that come with it that you have to go through. There's a reason why the soul fragmented in the first place. It's because it was a big trauma. Otherwise, it doesn't fragment. There's a reason for fragmentation. And it fragments because it's too big, like it's too much to hold, too much to handle. So it saves itself by fragmenting, you could say. But then it could feel like you live a life that is partially empty, like there's something missing. For me, it has been this feeling of not having a compass, it was like I didn't have direction. I didn't have inner leadership. I didn't have defenses. I was this vessel, but I couldn't seem to, unlock this direction of mine. I couldn't seem to I needed to ask others for advice, how to proceed, because I had no idea on my own. The more we call back of this, the more it comes to us, the more you will, I totally forgot about this, right? I had no idea that this was me. I had no idea that this was my truth, right? And if this had been intact, I probably would have made other life choices. You know, I probably would have had more sense of inner leadership. I would have kept this alive. I would have remembered, right? I would have that feeling. But it seems like maybe this has been going on for a long time. Maybe you're still in it, right? Like you haven't, like it's a full moon, but you know, the full moon suggests completion. You can complete the cycle. You can maybe call the last bit back, you know, or it's coming in for you. Or you could say that the universe never gives up. Like next year, around the same time, you will have another Cancerian full moon. So if you're not quite there yet, you can't complete it yet, the energy keeps working with us, right? So we will have other opportunities. With the first water. To me, it feels like light, you know, like in the darkest time of the year, that something light is trying to show itself. Some kind of innocence is trying to, or purity is trying to like come in here. That's how I feel it. It may not be what you, but you know, again, it depends. Are you still here? Is this still something that hasn't come in yet? It's in the clouds, as I said, or it's still fragmented out there, and you're still gathering the pieces here. You could be. Like initially, this was what I felt. That this card should be up here in the cloud or out there, you know, and you haven't retrieved it yet. You haven't become aware yet. You haven't united with that soul yet. This could be the feeling of a soul reunion, that it's coming back, and it's like, okay, now I get it. Right now I know who I am. Now I see. Now I seem to have enough truth here about who I am, right? Now the compass is back. Now the guiding star is here. Now the truth is here. Now I see, you know? That feeling. This is what I have for this full moon reading. I hope this helped in some way. Interesting energy. I think it could be about, I want to say information. Third eye is blue. So information, identity, communication, voice, speaking your truth, honesty, an honest conversation maybe, you know, something like that. So another card here, I just took this one, I get Pachamama. Pachamama is earth. It could also be mama, like mother, a mother motherly, again, Cancerian energy, the warmth, the embrace, the trust, you know, like, again, a memory maybe of someone who felt like a mother or motherly, you know, where with this person I can be honest. With this person I can be myself. With this person I can be like it was at that time. It can't be a mother. It can be an aunt, or, you know, another feminine figure. It could even be a male, but exuding a lot of feminine qualities. Maybe this is you, that you are actually this person. You are the Cancerian energy is regarded as the home, the mother, the warmth, understanding, kindness, maybe sweetness, something like that. I feel like it's like Venus in Scorpio is can be a more like a darker feminine. And then there's this little Cancerian, you know, like spark of little touch to this darkness, perhaps, right? Remember also before, right? Remember before. Yeah, that's what I feel like. Hope this helps somehow. Take care of yourself out there. I wish you the very best. Love and light to you. Bye-bye.